position in a nasty spot is what the Indiana Fever are in right now. And it appears, man, Stephanie White may be looking to pivot to the 2025 Indiana Fever, an offense that was centrally built around Kelsey Mitchell after Caitlin Clark's injury, man. This is going to be bad.
Body language doesn't lie, and neither does the schedule. That clip was recorded just hours before the Indiana Fever hosted the Phoenix Mercury at Gamebridge Fieldhouse in the first game of a two-night series, making the timing especially significant for head coach Stephanie White. Over the previous 72 hours, the Fever hadn't just lost to the Atlanta Dream. They had been thoroughly outplayed in back-to-back games. To understand why the pressure was building so quickly, let's begin by looking at what actually happened in Atlanta.
Down. They got mollywopped in Atlanta in embarrassing fashion after what should have been a Caitlin Clark 40-point explosion. The team just melted down, and Stephanie White pretty much blamed Caitlin Clark for the loss and her turnovers. And we saw her pretty much scolding Caitlin Clark before the turnovers took place after Caitlin Clark scored a basket in the third quarter. And it's leading.
The numbers tell a brutal story. On Thursday, the Atlanta Dream claimed the opener with a 108-101 victory. Saturday brought an even harsher result as Atlanta dominated the Fever 113-96, setting a new franchise scoring record with 113 points. What made the loss even more frustrating was that Indiana had built a 44-33 lead in the second quarter before watching the game completely unravel. A devastating 28-5 run in the third quarter swung all the momentum, and the Fever eventually found themselves trailing by as many as 22 points. It was a stunning collapse for a team that entered the week hovering around the .500 mark with legitimate playoff expectations. Adding to the disappointment, Angel Reese reached another career milestone during the blowout, becoming the fastest player in league history to record 1,000 career rebounds.
On today, they are going to pivot to Kelsey Mitchell because they feel that Kelsey Mitchell may be less turnover prone, and they already said she can get a bucket. She don't need help. We already know Kelsey don't want to pass the ball to nobody. She just want to get her 20 points. And let's just be real.
The sideline tension everyone is talking about is real, and you don't have to rely on a YouTuber's word for it. Cameras repeatedly caught Caitlin Clark turning back toward her own bench, and reporters who cover the team have openly described her in-game exchanges with Stephanie White as fiery. But the actual pattern tells a clearer story. In Saturday's loss, Clark scored 13 points in the first quarter to help build an early lead, then attempted just 2 shots in the entire second quarter. In Thursday's game, after picking up her 5th foul, she returned in the fourth quarter with Indiana trailing by 2 and never took another shot, finishing the period scoreless. When your best player is in rhythm, but the offense stops going through her, that is not an individual decision. That reflects coaching direction, and it is at the center of the ongoing debate about the team's offensive approach.
In an MVP talk last year, she was first team all WNBA. It's been very difficult to rein her in and to get her to going back to being a role player. She wants to be the star now. It just is what it is, and it appears Stephanie White may be.
But to be fair to Kelsey Mitchell, the narrative that she is simply a selfish ball stopper doesn't do justice to what she brings to this team. Mitchell is a former All-WNBA guard who scored 26 points in that Thursday loss and, on the same night, knocked down her 700th career three-pointer, making her only the 8th player in WNBA history to reach that milestone. This isn't a case of a coach choosing a role player over a superstar. It's 2 all-star level guards trying to share a single basketball, and that naturally creates friction. That tension spilled over again on Saturday, when the league fined both Mitchell and Sophie Cunningham $500 each for technical fouls in the game. It's clear the emotions inside this locker room are starting to fray.
Good. They've shown they have no backbone, no consistency. They have no direction. They have a bonehead of a coach. They don't have an identity. One minute they want to play up and down and play fast, Caitlin Clark style. After that, they want to go to the Kelsey Mitchell one-on-one, dribble, style. They want to go to that. This team has no identity and no doubt.
This is where Stephanie White's seat starts to heat up. Her job security has been questioned by fans for much of the season, And according to Sporting News, the players themselves even sent a pointed message to their coach before Saturday's game. The irony is hard to ignore. White built her reputation as a defensive-minded coach, yet that same defense just allowed the most points in Atlanta Dream franchise history. That said, she is not without merit. This is the same coach who guided his roster to the semifinals last season despite a brutal stretch of injuries, and that achievement deserves real credit. Still, when high expectations collide with blown leads and a record-setting defensive collapse, it naturally puts any head coach under intense scrutiny.
Ever takes accountability for anything that goes wrong, and it appears she's tired of the Caitlin Clark style of play. She does not believe the risk is worth the reward. The lemon's not worth the squeeze at this point. So Stephanie White may be pivoting directly back toward what she feels worked for her, which is puke back.
One specific decision fans keep returning to came in Thursday's loss, when Aaliyah Boston picked up her 5th foul and Stephanie White chose not to use a coach's challenge to contest it. Boston was forced to sit, the momentum shifted, and even the broadcast team openly questioned why the challenge was never used. That decision carries even more weight this season because the WNBA has updated its disciplinary system for 2026. Flagrant fouls now operate on a point system, with each point costing $500, up from $200 last year, and 4 points triggering an automatic suspension. Angel Reese has already picked up a flagrant and a fine in this series, highlighting how quickly those penalties can accumulate. In a league where every whistle now has financial and disciplinary consequences, a coach's reluctance to challenge key calls, especially involving a player like Aaliyah Boston, is something players are likely to notice closely moving forward.
Phoenix Mercury, the first thing they got to do is they have to play the Caitlin Clark style. You have to get up and down and run this Phoenix Mercury team out of the gym. Alyssa Thomas don't want to get up and down like that. DeWanna Bonner is 98 and a half years old in her 38th WNBA season. She not trying to be running up and down. Okay, if the Indiana Fever are going to secure a win versus the Phoenix Mercury, the biggest thing is you got to put the ball in Caitlin Clark's hands and you got to allow her to really go off. The last 2 games.
So, how did the Fever flip this tonight? The blueprint isn't complicated. Put the ball back in Caitlin Clark's hands and let her push the pace. Clark has now scored at least 20 points in 5 straight games and hasn't missed a single contest since May 20th. While she is listed as probable tonight with a lingering back issue, it's nothing like the stretch of muscle injuries that disrupted much of her 2025 season. A fully healthy, in rhythm Clark playing in transition is the most effective version of this Indiana Fever roster. Slowing the game down into walk-it-up isolation possessions only takes your most dangerous weapon and keeps her sitting in a holster instead of letting her fire.
To get back to being a dominant in the paint player. Stephanie White has ruined her to the point where it's nice that she can step out and make a 3. I'm not mad at that, but Stephanie White has made her so much of a hub. The girl has forgot how to make the 10-foot, 8 to 10-foot bunnies. She's missing layups left and right. I mean, to get dominated by Angel Reese and Natasha Mack, Angel Reese and Naz Hillman in back-to-back games, it just can't happen. It can't happen. And if the Indiana Fever are going to win today.
Then there's Aaliyah Boston. And while the criticism is sharp, it isn't without basis. The former #1 overall pick and multi-time All-Star has gradually drifted further away from the paint, and the box score reflects the impact. She missed her 5th straight double-double on Thursday, even while finishing with 23 points and 8 rebounds. When a dominant post player starts spending more time on the perimeter, those high percentage 8 to 10-foot finishes begin to fall off. Tonight, she faces a real test inside against Natasha Mack, one of Phoenix's most used starters and a legitimate rim-protecting presence. If Boston can reassert herself on the block and win that matchup the way her pedigree suggests, a lot of the Indiana Fever's offensive issues could quietly resolve themselves.
Need to switch things up defensively. Throw some matchup zones in there. Switch things up. Distort the rhythm and pace and timing of the other team by switching up your defense, and also mixing in a little bit of zone will take some pressure off of your guards in terms of them picking up fouls with people trying to go at them one-on-one. You already don't step into gaps and help get penetrating drives picked up. You don't do any of that. The Indiana Fever need to mix up their.
This matchup has become a headline inside one of the league's defining rivalries. because every meeting with Atlanta adds another chapter to the ongoing Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese storyline that the entire sports world follows. But it's also important to acknowledge what the most critical fans often overlook. Not everything falls on the coach. Indiana committed 17 turnovers in that first loss to Atlanta, which comes down player execution, not play calling. Lexi Hull has also gone scoreless in multiple games this season, and Clark herself has admitted she's playing about a 6 out of 10 while still forcing deep low-percentage threes that aren't falling. She has also acknowledged that her defense remains a work in progress. In reality, this is a flawed roster going through a difficult stretch, not a single coaching failure in isolation. The fair assessment is that responsibility is shared, and the stakes tonight go beyond the standings, especially with this being just the first half of a 2-game set against Phoenix. Losing at home to a 5-12 team right after being swept by Atlanta would push the pressure around this franchise from simmering to boiling. But a convincing win, especially with Clark fully unleashed and the defense finally getting stops, could quickly shift the entire narrative. That leaves the central question, not Caitlin Clark versus Kelsey Mitchell, but whether Stephanie White can adjust before patience runs out. Does she open up the offense and lean into her star, or continue with a slower, isolation-heavy approach that has already drawn heavy criticism?